Hello everyone, welcome to Martin's 3D Prints. I'm Martin and this is one of my quick designs and prints. Today we have designed the challenge coin as requested by a friend for his American Army reenactment group. They go by the name of the Lazy Company and they go to shows, schools, groups and clubs. And what they do is they bring education and insight as to what it was like being in the American Army as a soldier during the Cold War era. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up Tinkercad. Because it's a coin, we're going to put in a cylinder. Now we scale this cylinder to 50 by 50 millimeters, which is approximately 2 inches by 2 inches. Now this was the size of the challenge coins themselves. We're going to reduce the depth down to 6 millimeter to make it more coin-like. And then I was going to put a little edge around the outside, and I brought in a cylinder, but then I realised that I actually need a ring, so we brought the ring in. What we're going to do is we are going to scale that. Originally put 50, and then I decided that 49.5 by 49.5, so it's not all the way up to the edge. And because I want 1 millimeter each side, we're going to bring the depth down to 8. We'll bring it over to the coin itself. And then what we do is we select the coin and the edge. We press the align button and we align on the center on both sides. Then increase the sides to make it more round. And I put a little bit of a bevel on there so it's not such a sharp edge. With the ring, I do the same. I increase the sides to make it round. And then the wall thickness I bring down. Just so it's just a nice little ring around the edge of the coin. Grab it and I pull it down so there's 1 millimeter each side. This could have been done in the align tool by going on side view and clicking on the center align. Now if we select both the coin and the ring, we can then press the group button and group it all together. Now we import the logo. So I converted the logo to an SVG file. And I could have put the size in that I wanted to import it in, but I left it because I prefer to scale it down once it's already in. So it's going to come out pretty big. And there we have it. And we just scale it down ourselves. We originally go with a 45 by a 45, but then once that goes onto the coin, we're going to have to scale it down a little bit more just so it fits nicely. We scale the depth. We're going to put it to 3 millimeter because we want 1 millimeter hanging outside of the coin and 2 millimeters on the inside. So it then creates that nice inset. Put the logo on top of the coin, and this is when we start scaling it down to a size that we actually want. We're going to select the coin and the logo, and we're just going to align it on the center on both sides. Now, because when this logo was designed, it wasn't designed in a perfectly round circle, this is going to make it slightly difficult, so we're going to have to adjust it up and down and left and right a little bit just to get to where we want it to be. So what I do now is I control copy and then control paste, and that gives me the logo again. And with that logo there, I flip it over so that when it goes onto the bottom of the coin, the writing is the correct way around. And then I turn it around so it is in alignment with the one on the top. Another way I could have done this was I could have kept it how it was, put the first logo on the top of the coin and grouped it with the hole to make the inset, and then just flip the coin. I'll bring it down so that there's 1mm hanging over the edge, where that would leave 2mm inside, so it's a 2mm inset. And this is where I start using my directional keys on my keyboard, and I reduce the snap grid to 0.25 to get minor little adjustments, and we can get it just where we want. Just there looks pretty good to me. And we're going to turn that into a hole so it creates the inset. We're going to select both parts and we're going to group them. Drag in the other logo, place it where we want it. Because I'm not overly fluent with Tinkercad at the moment, I wanted to try and get rid of the work plane, but I couldn't quite work out how to do it. So I just kept it in place, and we will adjust a little bit and look from the side. When we grab our logo, we can then pull it down. We grab the coin instead, that's not a drama. We can leave 1mm difference. So there should be 2mm inset into the coin. Now in a minute I decide that I'm going to go a little bit further in just to see what side prints out the best. Create that as a whole, select both objects, ungroup the whole lot there by accident, so I just drag over all of it and regroup it. Then we're going to flip it up onto its edge just to have a good spin around the whole thing and see what it looks like. And that's looking pretty good to me. Now Lazy Company have a motto, and it is do things differently. So I thought as a nice touch I would take do things differently and I would translate it to Latin, and then around the outer edge of the coin I would inset do things differently with the Latin equivalent. So what I do is I go to search for the text, and then remember that it's probably easier just to press the search button. So I press the search button and I type in text, and it gives me the wraparound text just there. So I bring that in. Now in hindsight, I should have written all of the text first before I started scaling it up and down, because every time you insert something else in there, the scale becomes greater. So instead of messing about with fiddly scaling, next time I'll put all of the text in and then scale it to the size that I want. So you may see me do this a few times, but I'm still learning, and everything's a learning curve, so we will get there eventually. To start off with there, what I did was I selected all of the text, and when I started writing it, I didn't notice, but it had unselected it. So as I'm pressing keys on my keyboard, it's actually commands. So you can see the little ruler there that came through. If you ever do this, just Control Z, and then that will take you back to the last step. I've managed to then put in the text and press enter, and it's gone onto the work plane itself. Now what I do is I do a double space between each word, so when it wraps around it doesn't look like one continuous word, you can actually see that it's different words. Now there's a big gap between the Latin and the English, so to reduce this we just reduce the text gap. We just bring it a little bit closer together. Not too close. And there we have it. I thought I'd put quotation marks over the English version, do things differently. Now that's ready to put over the coin. So we're going to put it over the coin and we're going to scale it up or down and increase the text depth until we get it just where we want it, and then we're going to create it as a whole, select all objects and then group. When I put this on, I realised that the writing was too tall and I wanted a little bit more of a gap. So I just reduced the depth of the writing itself, just to leave a nice little gap either side. There we have it. We've just aligned it all again. Quick look around it just to make sure it looks okay. Then increase the thickness. And we're ready to inset it. So we select it as a whole, select both objects and group them. Now, having a look around this, I realised that I've actually put the text too deep into the coin itself. So I'm now going to have to ungroup it and change the depth. Reduce the thickness. And when we're scaling back up, if we hold the box on the corner and we press shift, as we pull it, it pulls both sides equally. And we just realign it again on both sides and on the centre. Select all objects and regroup. There we have it. That's looking a lot better. When you're doing little projects like this, it's always worthwhile changing the name of the project. So as you can see, I'm putting Lazy Company Coin. Otherwise, it just generates a random name for you. And when you come to try and find it later, it could prove difficult. So I'm now going to export it as an STL file so I can put it into my slicer, create the G code and send it to the printer. So at the bottom left hand side, it's now told us that that's exported. So we open up our slicer. My slicer of choice is Orca Slicer. I just find that one of the easier ones. For it to turn it into the G code. So select your STL file and it goes onto your work plate. And then you orient it how you want it. So I've decided to stand this one up to reduce the amount of supports that I need. So it will need minimal to no supports, as it will do a little brim around the outside. And this is just a test to see how the coin actually comes out. Now, once I printed this coin, I realised that it couldn't actually sit like that because of the writing on the bottom became unreadable. So what I did was I went back in and I put the coins at various angles. I printed 5 or 6 of them starting from 45 degrees through to about 80 degrees just to see which one came out. So it's all sliced and we're going to export the G code. If you've got a Wi-Fi printer like myself, you can do it through the computer. So I now import the G code, which I couldn't find it to start off with. There we go. So we're now importing that. That's now in the machine. We just click on it and get it to start printing. Now, because I've put my little poster in the background, I've got AI on this camera, and every now and then it will pick up that poster as a foreign object on the build plate itself, so it won't actually print. So as you can see here up the top where it says continue, this is because the AI has picked up that poster and it thinks that there's something still on the build plate. So all I have to do is go up, press continue, and then the print is ready to go. Now it's just going to go through all its little checks and start printing. So on the print itself, you can see that it started off nicely in the upright position. The only issue, like I said, was the writing at the bottom become a little bit squiffy and you couldn't actually read it properly. So this is why I went back in and I changed the angle of the coins. So, thank you for watching. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to send them coins to my friend and see what he thinks about them, and if he likes them then we can print off a few more. Please like and subscribe and keep watching for further content. Goodbye.